Oh no, it's a dress covered in red paint. Oh. Oh no. Oh, he's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. Go on, say it. Do it. Yes. Dramatic shaky cam. Dramatic shaky cam. Oh, fuck. Alright, let's talk about The Quiet Man. Released on November the 1st, 2018, The Quiet Man was a game that no one knew was coming, yet quickly gained a reputation of being a complete forking mess. Developed by Human Head Studios and published by Square Enix, it was silently launched on Steam and the PS4 without any fanfare. And I don't know about you, but that pairing seems odd. I mean, Human Head is all about making silly action games and of course the best version of Prey, and Square is currently remaking its Thirst Traps and ruining Deus Ex. And this oddness is amplified by the writers of this piece, a group that created the media juggernaut Ben 10. Men of Action Entertainment is a penthouse of various comic books, TV shows and films, and when they're not making discount battle anime, they have quite the impressive portfolio in terms of quantity. This leads to our last creative connection, video game producer Kenshi Fujinaga. After working with various other teams within Square, Fujinaga built enough clout within the company to create a game of his own, and in the making of documentary of The Quiet Man, he goes on to explain.
When I was 15, I believe, I got sick. All I got was PlayStation there. That was like another world I can be, that actually saved my life. I was in this room with like 5 other kids there. Actually, one of them, couldn't, speak. But, you didn't need any words there. We played together and get excited. And sometimes you don't need words, to communicate, to be friends. The Quiet Man is, communication beyond words. And I knew it for a long time ago.
Now, I'm not going to question the honesty of this anecdote, as fiction is born from a sliver of truth. But this, whatever he just said, did not alleviate the confusion of what The Quiet Man is. So, in a tweet on the run-up to the release of this game, he goes on to say,
"Words are truly amazing. They possess the power even to change the world. This is undeniable. For me personally, words are as precious as they are valuable. That said, I believe we as humans are capable of connections that transcend words. For example, an infant need only to look into his mother's eyes to know he is safe and loved. And in a world that overflows with cascades of words taken for granted, I can't help but think it's often difficult to realize such connections exist. Words shape consciousness. Indeed, some even say that words are life. But what if we were to cast aside such a life? What if somehow we were able to understand one another through connections formed heart to heart, soul to soul, and could once again look into one another's eyes and form a bond so pure? This concept lies at the core of The Quiet Man. Feelings that remain after words are abandoned. Feelings that can be conveyed even without words. Aren't these feelings what are truly important in life?"
Okay then. Let's filter out the word jank. I can see what Fujinaga is trying to say. In an age where we are subjected to this white noise of discourse about every fucking thing, choosing when and what to say can be powerful. This quote, "communication beyond words," sounds like some pretentious shite that David Cage would say to palm off his sophomoric crap as something profound. However, in the context of this game, it's actually how the narrative will be delivered to the player. Sort of. Put a pin in that. Also, this slogan, which was used in the marketing, is in regards to our lead protagonist, who is deaf. And from the opening to the very end of this game, we hear his world through his unique perspective. So, in this review, we will go through the game twice. In the first part, I will go through the story as I perceive it, and then in the second part, we will get into the structure of this story. We start this adventure with our lead walking down the moody streets of New York, and then Dane buys a butty from a guy who I think says the sandwiches are out?
The sandwiches are out tonight, kid. Be careful.
Well, he should know, he's a sandwich seller after all. However, this geriatric clerk who could barely get his single line of dialogue out replaced our lead's BLT with a half-finished game of tic-tac-toe. This doesn't faze our hero, as this scribble leads to an alley where a gang of green-wearing blokes are yucking it up. Oh, it was a map! Maybe you should have hung on that shot longer in a second for us to grab that. Anyway, this is where the USP of the Quiet Man kicks in.
You stupid or very stupid? ¡Muévase!
And I guess this is the sound of silence. After this orgy of violence, Dane steals the briefcase and leaves the building. Jump cut to a nightclub where Dane meets, let's call him Joey Bananas, who in this silent exchange gets flirty with our hero, I think. Actually, I don't think our friend here is given a name, so this should indicate the amount of narrative resonance this ponytailed titwank has to this story. After this meet cute, we are sideswiped by a flashback of a piano playing woman that seems important to our lead. Then we sit down with Dane's boss, Tay, who is very happy that his enforcer has brought him a briefcase full of moon sugar, which I assume the crew was snorting throughout this production. And then the two have a lengthy conversation that sounds like this. Then we cut to another flashback where a younger Tay is being bullied by another kid called Isaac. We also see a younger version of Dane who is walking with what seems to be his mother, who then, for some reason, runs up to them and waves, which is odd behaviour, because you can clearly see that Tay is pointing a gun at that other kid, so you would think this isn't a great time to have a friendly chat. Dane, you are deaf, not blind. Meanwhile, in the present, Tay shows Dane an envelope, which makes the sound engineer really happy. Okay, calm down, Akira Yamaoka. And this envelope contains a ransom letter directed at Tay's moderately successful singing girlfriend, Lala. And yes, that is her name, and no, she is not a Teletubby. In this letter, the person writing it plans to do something to her, but the shot on this piece of paper is so tight you can barely read it. And concerned for her safety, Tay puts Dane on his case to find this weirdo and ice him. In the next scene, we find Dane in Lala's dressing room, where he finds a creepy doll tied in red string, and pictures of our quote, happy couple, doing happy couple things, with the romantic chemistry of a bar of soap. Then we are subjected to another lengthy flashback of the same woman. Curious. But this is way too much world building for us, because our hero is now in a metro station for some reason, beating up more gangsters. Which leads to this slick transition where we see him getting his shit pushed in by his abusive father, which if a certain French auteur watched, he would get uncontrollably horny. And then we jump back to beating more copy-pasted gangsters on a subway, because context is for twats. After escaping this never-ending fight scene, Dane is being tailed by a trench-coated man, who vaguely looks like Bruce Willis, if you squint your eyes to the point your optic nerves burst. Then we make it to Lala's, and instead of doing what a normal bodyguard would do, you know, guard a body, Dane spies on her from across the street, and then awkwardly walks away when she waves at him. Okay, he's using my teenage dating techniques, but this is odd behaviour for a supposed protector of someone he should already know. I mean, it's his best friend's girlfriend, for fuck's sake. Also, I love this shot where Dane holds a photo of her in front of the house. Yeah, thanks for establishing what is already established. We got it. And then Dane finds a dead bird wrapped in red string, coupled with this dramatic and mildly amusing zoom. I guess a literal red herring would have been too obvious. Cut to Tay getting out of the limo in front of the house, where he has an awkward exchange with La. I guess the couple was not so happy after all. And Dane shows his flying herring to Tay, and is ordered to jump in a car with his squeeze and do his Kevin Costner routine. In the next scene, we find them having a chat we cannot hear. and she tries to flirt with him, which he rejects. Whoa, careful, don't fall off the edge of your seat. This leads us back to the nightclub, and La takes to the stage and starts to play the piano, in a sequence that actually uses the gimmick of this game rather effectively. You get the impression that Dane is trying to imagine what a piano sounds like in his head, and we are hearing that noise. It's a sweet moment and a nice piece of visual storytelling. However, this oasis is interrupted by the Luigi gang, who burst through the door while a mysterious figure in a crow's mask kidnaps Lala on what I like to call the double dragon plot device. Concerned for his awkward crush, we corner our masked nemesis. Now, I don't know about you, but a middle-aged looking schlub in a discount store Halloween costume isn't filling me with dread. In fact, my first encounter with whatever this thing is, I was laughing so hard I couldn't breathe. And what adds to this in this chef-kissed way is the use of a stun gun as his weapon of choice. I mean, it's not exactly Freddy Krueger's glove or Negan's baseball bat, is it? And Dane, like a dolt, grabs the business end of this scary weapon, which sends him into, you guessed it, another flashback, where we see his mother being accidentally shot by the wrestling youths. But haha, no, we're not going to reveal her identity just yet. Just keep this plot point in your mind. We will be picking apart this later. It's so fucking stupid. After this revelation, Dane punches half of New York in the face, until we bump into Joey Bananas once again, like anyone fucking cares. And then we get this vaguely interesting moment where Dane is spying on that man from earlier, who happens to have pictures of Lala. And to dispel all mystery straight away, we slam cut to another flashback, and it turns out this man is Dane's father, who was a beat cop at the time his wife died, and is now a detective, I guess? They never really say. Also, putting a mega weapon-sized pin in this fact. After 20 minutes of filler where we beat up the discount version of the Crow again, our hero faces off the leader of the Green Guy gang, in a fight that can only be described as watching an hour of Ben 10 with tape over my mouth so I have to swallow my own vomit. Oh, and this guy was the kid that Tay was wrestling with when they shot Dane's mum. Put a pin in it. Before we get to process that, Dane gets interrupted by Lala, who is in the rival gang's base for some fucking reason. Sure, that would explain why this tub of shite was wearing the Crow's mask at the start of the fight, but how did she get here? Is the Crow character in cahoots with them? Spoiler alert, it's never explained. Anyway, the couple escape the burning building, and we cut to a scene where they have a pretty chill chat. I am so engaged right now. Watching this, something occurred to me. Where in the timeline is this scene happening? When is this scene happening? Because if it was in the present, they would be bloodied and burnt from the escape, right? But no, there is not a single hair out of place, and they don't seem to be in any immediate danger. So is this a flashback? Did they forget to color grade the footage? I don't know, it's just confusing. Once again, we don't have time to dwell on this, as Dane gets punched back to reality by Tay, who has had enough of his bullshit, and points a gun at the couple, and as we accept that our hero will be taking a dirt nap, he is saved by his dear dad, who decides to ride along with his boy for the rest of the story. Cue another long ass exposition dump we can't hear. Oh boy, this is so riveting. Just like the next half an hour of expositional dialogue mixed in with punching people in the face. Hooray, let's fast forward. And then we finally get to the end where, oh no, Dane's dad has been shot. Emotions, emotions, press X for fucking emotions. And then Tay reveals, it was him, Austin. It was him all along, Austin. Then ravaging, revenging revengeance happens. Rules of nature! Dane turns into the Crow, kicks all the asses, hugs his waifu, credits roll. And Imogen Heap sings a song that's 2 octaves out of her range, and has been stuck in my head for fucking months.
And that it takes to be finally understood.
Well, that was fun? Even with this abridged rundown, you may have noticed a few inspired narrative choices that we will dive into now. You see, for a game with a brisk 2.5 hour runtime, the story of the Quiet Man is playing 4D chess, while us mere mortals are still chiseling swear words onto stone tablets. And that is damning with faint praise. A week after the game's launch, a patch was released which was called Answered, which unlocked a second playthrough where you get to experience the game with full sound. Which is surprising for Square, who loves to lop off critical narrative and spoon feed it to you for a fee. The thing is, the Quiet Man's problems cannot be boiled down to a single factual point. Like a ball of tangled wires, the issues of this piece are so woven together to overlook one aspect would overlook major gaping holes that are being plastered over with terrible concepts. So the only way to fully understand how badly the Quiet Man fumbles its intent, we need to pull every one out of this pile and examine it. Let's start off with the first pin in this massive haystack of dumb ideas, which is the identity of Dane's mother. And I have to let you in on a little secret here. In the original draft of this script, I was going to lead you through the events that happened before this reveal, but that would make it too easy for you to process, and is kind of obvious throughout the game, but I wanted to obfuscate that for comedic value. So in the spirit of this game, I'm just going to tell you how it is as bluntly as possible. Here is the identity of Dane's mum. Yeah. In a move that defies fucking everything, it turns out that Lala and Dane's mum look identical, which would add a cool twist to the story if she was a reincarnation or some sort of ethereal or science fiction-y thing. But that would be too much for this team of professional writers who have written hundreds of pieces of media to write around or make fun. Oh no. These two characters that share the same actress are not related. They have no narrative reason for being identical, and the reason why they look alike is because shut up they do. Which is forgivable in a low budget film, or a film with a lot of extras. It doesn't work when it's one of the leads who are front and center of the frame for the majority of the piece. And what adds to this, and I can't believe we are fucking talking about this shit again, is the relationship between Dane and Lala. You see, with this fresh context and another wrinkle we will discuss later, have a unsettling tinge to them. Ugh, you know what? No. I had a talk about a ghost that wanted to shag his possessed sister a few videos back. I can't do this. This may sound like a trivial complaint to most of you, but subtitles are a critical quality of life system for people who struggle to hear audible cues. While they are not essential or legally mandated, closed captions are handy to help digest a story when sound is not enough. So why is it such a problem in The Quiet Man? Well, it's a game about a deaf hero that handles accessibility like a man with no arms. The first playthrough subjects the player to what feels like days of exposition, where we cannot hear the dialogue being spoken. And I need to pause and reiterate that these clips are not isolated incidents. Every conversation is told in this manner, and while it's cute and a bold choice at first, it outstays its welcome rather quickly. Sure, we don't need to have every single word pop up at the bottom of the screen, but it would help our overall engagement. Just some narrative crumbs that would add some tangibility to these conversations. A fine example of this is the Albed language in Final Fantasy X, which incentivized the player to collect these words so in subsequent playthroughs you can see what the Albed were talking about. Was this critical to the story? No. But it gave the player who wanted to learn more of this world a nice chunk of content to chew on. While The Quiet Man doesn't use captions in the same manner, this is an example of how written text can be used to enhance a story being told. And The Quiet Man needs as many streams of context as possible. Oh, and it was savages, not sandwiches. And the irony train arrives at the station when it comes to this next complaint. In a project that's originally supposed to be bereft of audio, the sound design is diabolical. While the first playthrough is mind-numbing for its whatever this is, there are a few stings of atmospheric drone that works really well. I like it, it's got a horror vibe, but that is replaced in the second playthrough of The Quiet Man with a soundscape that can only be described in one word: stock. Everything is crunched, abrasive, and ultimately tiring to hear for extended periods of time, to the point where I question if Kevin MacLeod was the audio engineer of this project, and no one's going to get that joke. And the quality of the audio is just so loose it permeates everything, such as the recorded dialogue. There are so many times where characters are talking, and the only thing you can hear is the tone of the room.
Early riser. Extra credit on your report card, Dane.
Prefer extra cash.
Oh. Who's a good boy? You definitely get something extra under the tree.
Punctuated with ADR, or audio dialogue replacement, so sloppily done that the lip sync doesn't match up to the actor.
What? Why can't I hear? Why? Why?
And then we get scenes of high action, and the actors sound like they're chit-chatting at a local bus stop.
I brought back the Quiet Man, but you have to bury him forever. You want her! I wanted revenge on Isaac and Tay! Didn't you? Don't you? You want me dead! I want you whole.
And this mumblecore of the entire production is then enforced by the most inane script I've ever seen. And that's not even diving into the flow of this story, where we are subjected to countless scenes of flashbacks that either tell us shit we already know, or stuff that is pointless to the overall narrative. And this all coalesces into this feeling that the creators have no respect for your own mental capacity. This is evident in the numerous times the story sets something up to be resolved in the very next scene, thus robbing the story of any kind of tension. And the flashbacks, Jesus fuck, I have to retouch on the flashbacks. In the first half an hour to 45 minutes, there is at least 15 flashbacks. And while this sounds like a hyperbolic statement, the majority of these said callbacks are just reiterating what we already know, or show you the same sequence of events every single time. And it just feels like filler, such as this scene where Dane's at the bar and he sees the picture of this woman on the wall, and then we fade cut into a flashback for 15 seconds, enforcing that this woman means something to our lead character, when all we really need from a visual storytelling point of view and a more cinematic point of view is just a zoom on this picture and hold it just for a few seconds. We are then being told visually that this person is important, and we don't need this sepia tone bollocks every 2 seconds. And what is infuriating about this is when the characters in this story acknowledge that they already know what is going on.
She was kind. So soft.
I know. I bet when your dad was an asshole, she didn't have to say anything and he would just melt. I wish I could have met her.
You are her. She plays piano. She died.
You told me.
Robert never loved me.
Told me.
If Lala knows what's going on, then why the fuck are you showing me this shit? which adds to this stop-start pacing, where the narrative will barrel through concepts that would be theoretically interesting to show us to get to the boring stuff, such as the metaphysical elements of our antagonist, which is the titular Quiet Man for your reference, fluctuates between the embodiment of Dane's rage and some schlub in a cheap costume. This failure to commit to anything makes the player not care about what is going on, apart from reacting to the sheer randomness of the final product. And I want to make a point here that I love bad media. You can learn a lot from reviewing and critiquing and watching bad media. And one of the things that makes it fun is that sheer randomness. But it can only take you so far.
I should have saved you. I should have been the one to fill your dark soul with light!
And that's the thing, as soon as you engage your brain and think about what is going on, the Quiet Man falls apart. And in this next section, for a bit of fun, I wanted to pull apart a few of its inconsistencies, such as Dane's dad, who is a total prick. From the bounce, we find out that Dane's father, called Ash, has nothing but utter contempt for his son, who blames him for killing his wife.
And do you understand the depths of what you've done? What are we supposed to do now? Now that you've killed your mother? Why does he need to process his pain? He deserves it.
Mr. Ash, what's happened to all of you won't go away. Not unless you confront it. All of it. He's using this Quiet Man to process his feelings. His fantasy of how that day could have gone.
And so what you're saying, hang on, so you're saying that this Quiet Man is his idea of a hero. Jesus, that's a fucked up kid.
It always has been your fault! Everything!
Emotional damage!
Which is true. He did run towards the two men holding a gun and did nothing to get out of harm's way, but then his mum stood there too, so Anyway, this contempt towards Dane is comical, and what makes this shit baffling is that Ash is a cop who has a supposed suite of tools at his disposal to bring these crooks who killed his wife to justice. Yet instead, he goes rogue, and what adds to this as well is that the Quiet Man as a character, the manifestation of Dane's rage and all this stuff, is being used by his own father, who is wearing the outfit to drive him along to take out all these people. And yes, this feels like a plotline from Tekken.
I'm going to keep her safe. I am going to save her.
But this is just level 1 of the stupidity on display here with the script. Because level 2, we have to suspend our disbelief that Tay, Dane's bestest friend in the whole wide world, decided to date a doppelganger of his mother. A woman that Tay knows very well because he fucking shot her. Yeah, fucking whoops. Which brings another question. Why hasn't Dane lost his shit? Alright, in a bold expression of contrived storytelling, we are told that Dane forgot this fact due to the shock of the incident, which is, yeah, plausible, but still, that is ridiculous and a very flimsy framing device. But this pales in comparison to the final Tetris block of stupidity, which lands with a thud when we are told who is the catalyst of this string of events.
Tonight? We're good?
Yeah. Is there no change of plans from your BF?
Nope. He's heading his way over right now. And then he's in the air. And you're on.
You make it sound like it's a goddamn show.
It is. The greatest performance of my career. The night I was kidnapped.
This evening of anarchy was a plot between Ash and Lala, This entire plot was orchestrated to get a woman out of a toxic relationship. A woman that has nothing to do with the story apart from looking like a dead woman from the lead's past, got out of a relationship by exploiting a dead woman's grieving family. Well, it's a inspired narrative choice. That has to be the worst fucking story beat I've ever heard. That is incredible. That is majestic. That is just, well, it's art. There's no way to describe it. That should be framed in the fucking Louvre, right next to the Mona Lisa. And once again, this shit is easily circumvented by Ash being a cop. Why not build some tension by bending the rules to put her into witness protection, or smuggle her out the city under armed guard, or do something relevant to his job? And the reason why I keep mentioning that Dane's dad is a Rosa is because he is the main antagonist of this piece, not this doofus that mugs the camera. What the fuck is this? Or this big green tub of fuck, or this ill-fitting metaphor. It would be so easy to frame this conflict between father and son, the son being the outlaw and the father being the corrupt police chief or whatever, which would then give us a relatable and dramatic story framed in a silly action game that takes itself seriously but gives us an entertaining pulpy ride to white knuckle through. Yes, we do get that final father versus son face-off, yet all the beats leading up to this conflict are so cartoonish and convoluted, I couldn't give a single shit if you sugarcoated it. Once again, there is a big difference between writing a story and filling a cannon full of ink and paper. And that is the frustrating thing, it's so sloppily told. I can't even grasp more than just a few layers of how bad it is. This as a whole should have been completely reworked, and while I can forgive a few technical problems, the story I cannot forgive. And with its intent of trying to visually tell a story, it absolutely fails because it relies on spoken dialogue. But then I think of great moments in visual storytelling in games, and my mind wanders to one.
I think we can work together and resolve this problem in a way that benefits us both.
There, right there, you see that? Doom Guy explained his character in one simple move, and then the game reinforces this by never letting up on his bull in a China shot demeanour, while the Quiet Man does everything in its power to keep you uninvested.
My God, I am so bored! Ah!
While I love the concept of a death vigilante beating up criminal scum, the Quiet Man falls on so many swords I'm not sure it has any mutilated stumps left to stand on, let alone prop itself up. It is another misguided example of pushing video games into a medium that goes against what makes them interesting. Plus, the entire conceit of this piece is never realised, as it loves to tell but rarely shows, leading to long bouts of exposition that at first we cannot hear, and then when we do, it's trite and pointless. And even with its short runtime, every minute feels like an hour. With that said, I do kinda like this game, but in concept. It's a passion project, a misguided, overwritten and poorly executed passion project, but a game that felt like it wanted to be made. Yet things happened beyond its control that hindered the final product. Not to mention the obvious clash of Eastern and Western design philosophies in terms of storytelling, where one is all about the visual, bombastic theatrics, and the other is about flapping your gums for the sake of it. While I believe that the creators behind this had earnest intentions, they created one of the most nihilistic stories I've ever experienced. And the only thing I take away from this piece is this feeling of frustration. There is something here, something really cool, but it's buried under so much shite, you can't see the wood for the excrement. Something this pulpy should be a raucous romp of silliness that should keep us engaged from start to finish. Instead, it takes itself seriously to the point of farce, but not in a laugh out loud kind of way. And lastly, I'm struggling to really comprehend what the message of The Quiet Man is. There are some heavy themes here, such as bereavement, isolation, being abused by your family, and you can tell by the screed made by Fujinaga at the start of this video, he wanted you, the player, to take away something from this. But I am struggling to find out what that message is, because the only message I do get, which is loud and proud and very easy to hear and see, is that Dane is so damaged, or he's actually into it, that he's openly embracing this complete stranger who looks like his mother as some kind of maternal muse. Now, I don't want to imply something sexual going on, but I will remind you that this was written by professional writers. So I guess someone at Man of Action Entertainment has a very fruity search history. Well, I'm trying to say someone had a stepmom kink. God, what is it with these fucking shitty games and people want to fuck their own mothers? Sorry. You know what? I reviewed this game as a day off. I thought it'd be just a fun and breezy little video to riff on after all that David Cage bullshit. And this turned out to be even worse than Quantic Dream's output, which is, well, surprising, let's just say. Anyway, bollocks to this. I'm done with this video. See you next time.